Welcome to the As Yet Unknown podcast. My name's Alex Snyder, your back pocket coach-sultant and connection catalyst. Entrepreneurship is a bit like bungee jumping, a big leap into the unknown, and it can be a lonely, bumpy ride. It's also one of the most empowering and liberating things you can do. Each episode is a dose of fresh perspectives designed to leave you feeling connected to innovative ideas and inspired about growing your business your way. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's have an adventure.
Francois, it is such a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for joining. Francois is a high-performance coach and author who has an incredible background and certainly understands high-performance, high-stress environment and the need for resilience. After a decade as a commando-paratroopers platoon leader, Francois embarked on a nomadic life. He is also a paragliding pilot, a humanitarian and natural disaster volunteer, and his book is about his experience surviving a tsunami while rescuing a child and the lessons that it taught him. Francois, welcome, and please feel free to add on to that introduction.
Thank you, Alex. No, that's perfect. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really happy to be here.
Amazing. So leadership, high performance, business, that's kind of what this series is about. And leadership is a really fascinating topic, and it gets debated a lot in terms of style, responsibility. There's a lot of challenges in today's culture around maybe intergenerational communication, but you've had some really unique experiences in leadership. I would love to know what you think is vital to be a successful leader.
Leadership is complex. Now, the first thing I want to address before going deeper into leadership is that nowadays, if you look around in all the marketing and everything that we can see on social media, we've been promised all the time with 7 figures in 7 days, 5,000 followers in 2 hours, increasing your beach body without working out, weight loss pill, etc. We are being sold constantly the easy, cheap, fast, no effort, result guaranteed, right? We're bombarded with all of those things and we believe that it's possible. Now, the reason for that, first of all, we are biased to trust other human beings. And just between us, but I do think the only people who actually make a lot of money selling the courses of 7 figures in 7 days are the people who sell the course, not the people who take the course. Now, there might be a lot of great stuff out there. I'm not denying that. But I said, on average, we are very attracted to that because we like shortcuts. It's a blueprint of the brain to want to conserve energy and stay away from discomfort, pain, suffering, etc. So it's really hard for us humans to delay gratification, right? It's not easy. The problem is that there is no shortcut for success, even less to become a great leader. Success doesn't just happen. It is intentionally created. It requires commitment, self-discipline, effort. It is really it's a conscious process. There is no shortcut for leadership. You establish yourself as a true leader by who you are, not what you have, not what you do, by who you are as a person, right? Now, we can see that sometimes people receive a position of leadership. They have the title of being a leader, but they don't really lead. Because it's just about the title is something that is created over time. And yes, it takes hard work, it takes effort, it takes commitments, and it takes time. And that's something that we don't really want to look at. It's like, I want it now, I want it fast, I want it without having troubles, without having difficulties. And the other problem going with this is that most people, when they get a title or they get a position of leadership, and suddenly it's like, oh, it's all about me. It's me, because I'm in front of the group. I'm the face of the people that I lead. But actually, leadership is the ultimate selfless position. If you think about it, when you're a leader, it's the moment that you, on top of dealing with your life issue, personal problems, etc., you have to lead other people. So really, being a good leader, there is a big part of selflessness in that. Everybody wants to be successful, right? We all want to. Now, we all want to be successful now and do the things that lead to success later or never. Like this moment when we say, I'll do it tomorrow, next week, next year, etc. Yeah, I'm guilty. There was a time I wanted to be fit. I didn't want to work out. I wanted to be healthy. I didn't want to pay attention to my food and nutrition, right? I wanted to be successful. Well, I didn't want to do the uncomfortable stuff that leads to success. So I did like everybody else. I complained, right? But what's the point of wishing for things to be different and not doing anything about it? Einstein said it's insanity. Now, the trick is that your business is a reflection of who you are. And so if you want to be a better leader, you have to become a better person. There's no other way. There's no shortcut. This is the way. This is the path. I love Brandon Burchard saying, there is one thing that everybody in the world wants. More. We all want more. More money, more passion, more time, more success, more joy, more love, more, whatever, we want more. But to have more, we have to be more. More efficient, more committed, more productive, more intentional. We have to be more. We have to learn to show up as our best. And this is something I definitely learned in the military. I want to share this little story. I was at the end of my 4 months of training for the commando-paratroopers. And we had a final formal test day. And I say formal because we were tested every single day, mentally, physically, emotionally. And on that final day, after 4 months, this was the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. I mean, being married next to it is very easy. This was very hard. We were in training. We were exhausted. We were like at the end of our strength. And the day would start with a rope parkour at 5 meters high, no safety net, followed by an obstacles run. And this run is really designed to exhaust every single muscle of your body, right? When you cross the finish line, if you do, you just want to throw up. It's such a great effort for your body. After that, we had to carry someone on our shoulders with a weapon and everything. But finally, the dreaded test was called the speed march. And the speed march is a 16 kilometers, a 10 miles run that we have to do in our combat uniform. So lightweight combat uniform. So we have the boots, we have the uniform, we have the chest ribbing, the helmet, the shuffle, the bottle of water, the weapon, the magazines, everything. And we need to run. And to do the 16 kilometers, the 10 miles, under 100 minutes. So we'd say, well, you trained soldiers, that's doable, right? Like, well, I want to remind you that we were very exhausted already before getting there, and all the tests that we had in the beginning of the day already. But the thing is, we were not allowed to have a watch. So we could not manage time. We didn't know if you were running too fast, running too slow, no idea. So the only way to get to the finish line was to give it all from the very first step, to push to our limits. And that's really where I learned. Well, that's what it means to show up as your best, is that no matter what, you give everything. No matter what, you commit to give 100% of what you can. You commit to be the best version of yourself. This, to me, it is what it means to show up as your best. Now I want to ask the audience, everyone, to think, where in your life are you not showing up as your best? You know, you see these leaders. You cheat on your partner at home, but you expect trust at work? Or you're overweight and sick, but you want productivity and performance in your team? Or your environment is a mess, it's chaos everywhere, but you want discipline in the communication or whatever? Or you're unhappy, but you want an uplifting culture in your organization? I mean, this doesn't work, right? Elevating your business through self-mastery, it really means that you are committed to improving yourself. Because to be a great leader, you have to become first a great person. It is helping others become the best version of themselves by becoming the best version of yourself. This, to me, is what leadership means. It's like stepping into this role of being a model. And yeah, for sure, if you want to have a great influence, have a better productivity, a better performance in your company, you need to become a better role model. And this is not something it's not knowledge, right? It's not something to know, it's something to practice. So I would really say that there is no magic pill. If you want more, you have to be more. And there is no shortcut to great leadership. So that would be my answer.
Yeah. I love it. That's so powerful. I mean, the reminder that there's no overnight success, no matter what we see online.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a powerful reminder. And then what you said, it's realizing that what you put in is what you get out applies on so many levels, right? So
Yeah.
not just in the gym or in a relationship or in your role as leader and your deliverables, but actually on kind of a more universal level.
Yeah.
Everything you are inputting to the various, you know, buckets of
Yeah.
your life is going to translate to what you get out of those buckets. And it's not a one-to-one. It's sort of, you put it in the buckets, there's a mix in the middle, and then
Yeah.
things translate and come out the other side in buckets again.
Totally.
Um,
Totally. And I love this quote that says, "The way you do anything is the way you do everything."
yes.
And as a leader, that should be a mantra to remember every day. Like the way you decide to go to the gym, the way you dress, the way you talk to your wife, to your kids, to your brothers, to your friends. This is the person that you create. And as a leader, or as for everyone actually, it's about regaining consciousness and control about the way you show up and deciding that I'm going to hold myself to the highest standards possible. Because in my role as a leader, I am there to support other people to grow. This is your role. And if you don't get your shit together first, I mean, how do you want to be there for others? It just doesn't work, right?
So I completely agree with this. And I often say that, you know, entrepreneurship and leadership, because you're going to bring up all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
All the things you learned, all the beliefs you've created, all your insecurities, all the things
Oh,
you've,
yeah.
you know, carefully lacquered over and learned to cope.
Yeah.
It's going to bring it up, right? You're going to be in a stressful situation where someone's going to react in a certain way. And, you know, that the true you, in the sense of all the things that have been built, will come through in those moments. And the true you can change, of course. We know
Yeah.
that. So, which is why I say you have to work on you, the personal development, in order to stay sane in your business, to not alienate everyone around you while you grow your business. We all know those people who are notorious for, you know, their temper or the way they treat people. But then we also know the people on the other end of the spectrum who are known to be just like the most incredible leaders. And the reality is, in this day and age, where there
Yeah.
is so much more focus on integrity and understanding that, like you said, how you live your life impacts your business, and people care more about that, and it's much more visible.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's so important. So I'm wondering, you know, if you have an example or how you see this manifest in your experience or helping clients to make those shifts.
Yeah. You know, I think a great danger in leadership is that as a leader, you have leader accountability structure around you. You don't really have a lot of people around to keep you in check. Usually leaders, especially the bigger the corporation or the organization, the more it is that the leader is living in a yes culture. That most people are saying yes all the time, not always, but in general. And so it's not easy for leader. I mean, if they don't consciously create a system to keep themselves in check, it's easier to deviate. It's easier to cross boundaries, to not really know where you're going. And so as you said before, we all have our lives and we all carry traumas and pain and wounds, etc., and sufferings. I mean, this is life, and that's okay with it. The problem, as you said, is when that translates into how you show up as a leader. And if you want it or not, this is unconsciously affecting your behavior and the way you treat others, right? And that's great because nowadays we have more movement coming and trying to sensibilize whatever people about leading with more love, more humanity, and more empathy. And this is very important because, yeah, you need to create a system to put in place something that's going to keep yourself in check. As a leader, you always try, it's more attractive to say, I'm going to change the people in my team. I'm going to change the system. I'm going to change the software. And we tend to want to change everything that is around us and not
Right.
look inside because it's uncomfortable to look inside. Nobody likes to be in front of the mirror and say, okay, let me have a reality check right now. Let me see where I'm falling short, where I'm not following those values, etc. This is complicated. We don't want to be confronted with a hard truth. But to
Yeah.
me, this is the key. This is the very key to become a better leader. So yeah, personal development is the key to improve your leadership. So
So actually making sure that you curate your peers, your leadership team,
Yeah.
and really the culture of your company to not be a yes culture, that people should be encouraged and rewarded for showing up, speaking their mind, holding you accountable. And to do that, you also have to make clear what you expect to be held accountable to, right? You have to put your stake in the sand of what your values are, what integrity means to you.
Yeah. You need to be able to be vulnerable in front of the culture, I mean, in your organization. And that's the problem, that sometimes leaders, they read that somewhere and say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, I'm going to ask for feedback, and then they kind of punish, consciously or not, the people who give negative feedback. This is very dangerous, and that's why we have a culture when people don't really dare to say what they think, because they are scared that it's going to have repercussion on their work, on their career, and so they don't really dare to do it. So it's about creating a system that allows people to share their own mind in a safe space, in a safe environment, and that the leaders after that is committed to do something about it. Because there is one thing to ask for feedback, it's another thing to say, oh, you're right, I'm gonna dive into this, I'm gonna explore that idea, I'm gonna try to change. Because the ego is coming, the ego is gonna fight that. But as a leader, you need to develop the ability to put your ego aside, because it is not about you. And when you understand that leadership is not about you, it's about the people you serve, you become a better leader. Only when you understand that. Because if you keep putting it about yourself, about how you look, about your image, about your appearance, about your comfort, it's never going to work. You're never going to put the people first, and you're going to keep putting you first and following this hidden agenda. And this is the problem. And so, yes, it requires courage. And yes, it requires to be willing to be vulnerable in front of the people that you lead. And it's, again, another misconception that, oh, if I'm vulnerable, I'm not a great leader or whatever. Like, I need to be strong. I need to be stoic all the time. I need to be hard. I need to be ruthless. Like, come on. We evolve, right? The society is evolving. This type of leadership is no longer valid in the current model. It just doesn't work that way. We need to lean more towards a participative leadership when people can be heard and seen within boundaries, of course. Otherwise, it's chaos, right? The leader needs to remain the leader. That's not what I'm saying. But being willing to change, being willing to listen to other people's feedback, and yeah, being willing to do the work, because it's not about you. It's about the people you lead. Yeah.
100%. And I think, I don't know if you've heard this term, but I remember when I heard this term, I suddenly understood my own leadership. And frankly, the feedback I had gotten over the years about my leadership, when I thought I was not a people person, and, all these things that I didn't realize, I think a little bit like you, I had developed through sports and, different measures, and then come into professional environments and just kind of had those things, but not even been aware of them. And the term that I learned a few years ago was servant leader. And I think that is what I definitely ascribe to, where, my team's success is my success. I look at my role as, debottlenecking and problem solving for them, making sure they have what they need to do the job I have asked them to do, that they understand that job, that they have support, have a very open door, that, I expect a lot of autonomy from my teams. I expect them to, give me an estimate of what they need, when something's going to be done, when they're going to check in. If you don't check in before the day it's due, to me, you failed, right? But I make that very clear. I will literally tell people in interviews, this is how it is working for me.
Yeah.
But you can check in any day at any time. I'm always here, and I will always help you. But what I need is that you are, autonomously and proactively managing. So that's a different part of it, but that's servant leadership. And then the other side of that is making sure that I really think the focus on understanding my team. I work with my clients a lot on performance and development programs. Understanding my team, understanding whether they're in the right role, where they want to go, and what it is that's important to them, and giving them the opportunities to really own things and step up that align. And I think all of that is, you have to be able to not focus on you as a leader.
Yeah.
And what that results in is people who feel like part of the business, right? There's an expression that says,
Exactly.
your team will never care about the business the way you do as an owner. But I think you can get really close if you get the right ingredients in there.
Yeah, no, completely. I think, there is this saying that says there is never a bad team, it's always a bad leader. And when I work with clients and they come to me and they would explain something that happened and then, yeah, because of this and that, I'm like, well, you give me the picture that the employee or the other leader that made a mistake maybe didn't act well, but why did that happen? Where is your responsibility in him having or her having this behavior? And every time you can connect everything back to your leadership, like maybe the vision wasn't clear, maybe the rules, the values are not clear, maybe you didn't have the resources to do, maybe there was a lack of communication. I think you can always trace it back to the leader, because everything is perfectly clear and you have a great team. People are just helping the whole thing to unfold and move forward. So I think it's always about the leader. You can always find that. And if it's really not, then you just had the wrong people on the team, which is also your responsibility as a leader.
And that's also your responsibility. That's what I was going to say, right? Is,
Yeah,
when it's clear, as humans, we will hold each other accountable. Like, for better or for worse, we will hold each other accountable to the norms that have been
yeah,
established. And so, if everything is clear, then everyone will be working to hold each other kind of in check and balanced. And then I totally agree. If things are happening repeatedly and things are problematic and it's the wrong people in the business, then that is the leader who has not made a decision to, promote, demote, exit people in the right time.
exactly.
Even that really does come down to you. And you have to accept that you're not perfect. You may not have known on the first, transgression that somebody should have been fired. But if it's now the fifth and you've given them no coaching, then that's on you. Or if it's the
Yeah,
fifth and they have had coaching, then that's a decision that you need to be making.
yeah. And I think we bring up another trait of a great leader is humility, is to be able to say, hey, at that moment in time, I did everything I could with the level of knowledge and skills that I had. But right now, I realize that that was not a great move. And I take responsibility for that. Admitting that you screw up is just making you more human, not more weak. And that's something sometimes we confuse as a leader. Like, I don't want to be weak. I'm going to stand behind stand behind your decisions, but also be humble to say, like, hey, I screw up that day, and that's okay. We can all screw up once. Now we learn from it, and we never make this mistake ever again. And when you show the example, when you role model that, you also support people to take more initiative, to be more proactive, because, like, oh, you know what? I can try things. If I fail, that's okay, as long as I learn from it. It's tolerable in this company because we promote innovation, change, taking risks, going outside of the comfort, etc. That's how you create a culture of performance.
The innovation, so many of those companies, they have the fail fast, fail forward, right?
Yeah,
They've worked to implement that. That if you have an idea and you spend the allotted time that you're allowed to spend on it and it flops, there is no negative consequence. There's a retro and there's a learning and there's everybody benefits from what happened, but there's
yeah,
no punishment or punitive consequences for having tried, because that's how these companies are innovating some of the world changing technology
yeah,
that we use every day.
completely,
100%.
completely.
And also, if you are this perfect robot, how is your team going to feel okay to come and tell you when something is maybe not perfect in what they're doing, right? And
Yeah,
what that means is usually they'll try and fix it, try and hide it, and it'll only come to you when it's an 8 on 10 problem that nobody can hide anymore. And now you've
exactly.
got an 8 on 10 problem to solve, rather than someone showing up at, a 3 on 10 with, like, hey, I'm not sure this is heading in the right direction. I'm a little uncomfortable. I'd love,
Yeah,
some guidance, some advice. What do you
yeah,
think?
exactly. And that's part of your
And those
job, to empower
conversations are
people.
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's part of the leader to empower others and empower them to reach and ask for help when they need it before it's too late, right? And for that, you need to
exactly.
role model the way. I think for everything that you want from your team, you need to role model the way first. You need to show what is acceptable. You need to be above that. And for this, you need to dive deep into your own personal growth, for sure.
100%. So, I guess two questions I'd love to kind of
Yeah.
leave you with. The first one is, we've just talked about all the reasons you need to grow yourself to grow your business. Can you grow a business without working on yourself? And what is the most likely outcome?
Yeah. Well, yes, you can, but the chance of success are slim, first of all. And if you reach success, at what cost? Right? Personal growth and self-improvement are essential. They directly impact your way, your ability to lead people, to make decisions, to communicate efficiently, and also to handle all the stress and the challenges that are coming with growing a business, right? And so if you don't have a good clarity, if you lack of direction, you're going to make bad decisions. You're going to have poor leadership skills. You're going to be more prompt to burnout or to stress that are coming, too much stress. And you pay the cost for that with your health, with your family, with your friends, with yourself, or with the employees. So if you don't take the time to look in the mirror and start working on improving yourself, you might become a bad role model for others, or you might model things that you don't want your employee to do. And then there is this big conflict of like, well, the leader is telling you to do that, but is not doing it. And that's this lack of integrity. And then suddenly the person tries to be strong and stoic, and then nobody can relate to it. And then the business starts falling apart because there is no culture, there is no bond, there is no connection with anyone. So the question I like to ask is how... Yeah, sorry. Okay,
Sorry, no, I was going to say we can all remember growing up that adult who said, do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. I mean, I think as a leader, you can see as your role, not even, but you can see some similarities as a parent and a child. It's really hard to tell your kid, like, eat broccoli and you eat ice cream in front of them. That just doesn't work. You need to role model the way. You need to show them what's the way to do it. And you don't even have to say it. They're going to model it by saying like, whoa, I want to be that. And if you're a respectable person that is holding yourself to the highest standards and you show up no matter what, you're there for others, you do the work, you do the effort, and people just want to be more like you. And that's true leadership. And lastly, it's like, how do you want to navigate the complex business challenges that are going to come on your way if you're struggling with your own life? To say it again, if you don't have your own thing together, I mean, you can, it's just too much, right? And then it's burnout, bad decision, etc. We repeat the circle. So yes, you might be successful without working on yourself at all, but the cost you're going to pay and the level of success, to me, that's mediocre.
So the fun question I'd love to leave us on it, and maybe you've already covered this, but what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about success and high performance?
Well, the first thing comes to mind is when we started this conversation, saying that success can happen overnight. And this is something we keep seeing all day long on social media and stuff, and people keep promising that. And we just need to remember, guys, it's just not going to happen. People work years and years to get to the level of success that they are into. And so it's about remembering, like, hey, I want to enjoy the journey as much as my destination here. Because, to be honest, when you create a successful business, having the business very successful is one thing. But the journey of creation, of putting the ideas together, of creating the team, of navigating all the challenges, or even navigating it, this is the thrill, right? This is the exciting part. And a lot of people, they build a very successful business, and when the business is at its top, they sell it and they start again, right? So how many entrepreneurs are doing that, right? Because this is the thrill of creating new things. And so we need to learn to enjoy the journey, to be like, hey, it's fine if I'm struggling tomorrow, if it's difficult tomorrow, whatever the ups and downs of being a leader and creating a business, this is the enjoyment. So we need to remember that. Also, going with success can happen overnight. Oh, people are only successful who are lucky enough to be at the right place at the right time. That's not true. The reality is that success is a result of hard work, dedication, efforts. Successful people are the people who are willing to do what others won't do, right? And the last thing I want to say about the misconception on success is that success is a feeling. So I think the majority of people, they chase success their whole life just to realize that it was fulfillment they were after. The reason for that is that we create a definition of success that is not based on how we really feel about it, right? We have been raised by maybe our parents were saying like, this is success, or showing you what is success, or craving for a certain form of success that has been ingrained in our mind. And then you go on social media, you see people having selfies in front of a private jet, of a car, or whatever it is, like, oh, this is success. And on the photos, when you see this photo, what do you see? You see someone smiling, someone well-dressed with this energy. You see someone who is feeling good. And then we associate what the person, the possession of this person with the feeling that the person have. We don't even know if it's true. This is just what it looks from the outside. We don't know how they feel really on the inside. And so for the majority of people, I'm not saying for everyone, but the majority of people, if you would ask, what is success for you? 99% of the time, money, fame. This thing is like this luxury lifestyle, etc. Yes, it is a part of success. But the problem is that if we don't take the time to define success with our own metrics, we might reach success and feeling so empty and miserable that we just get crazy thinking I have everything I thought I want, but I realize that I have nothing that I really need. Tony Robbins said it so beautifully that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And that's so true. Because you can be very successful and feeling so empty and miserable about your life, then is it really worth it to have that type of success? No. So what we need to go after is fulfillment. It's like this success with conditions. You would ask me, do you want to run $1 billion business tomorrow? I would tell you, yeah, but I want to be in good health. I want to have a good social life. I want to be in great relationship with my wife. I want to be joyful every single day. I don't want to have too much stress. So we have so many conditions, but sometimes we tend to forget about all of that and we just focus on this little narrow definition that we have of success. But then we reach it and we're miserable. And so this is something I would say to people. Take the time to redefine success on your own terms. Take the time to write that down, to say, for me, success feel like with the word feeling, because in the end, this is what we are after. It's the feeling. We want to feel the joy, the feeling good in our body, right? Who cares to have $1 million in your bank account if you're miserable and depressed as shit, right? That doesn't give you anything. The feeling is there. Yeah. So it's about reaching a feeling more than...
I think that's such a powerful point to leave on is you need to define what success means to you. And really what that is how do I want to feel? And then what do I want to do and achieve in order to reach that feeling? And really look at that across, in a business, say the operating model. So I would say the operating model of your life, right? Make sure that how you want to feel, then you kind of drill that down to what does that actually mean across the different components of life?
Yeah.
So you have a full picture of what you're going towards, not a pinhole picture that you're focused on and you don't realize the surrounding, collateral damage, for lack of a better word.
Exactly. And one thing I want to add to that, when you associated the feeling you want to have when you're going to be successful to define success, it's also a good moment to realize what are other ways to have those feelings in my life right now, right? If for you associate success with freedom, with joy, or with empowerment, like, okay, building your successful business is going to be one way to achieve that. What are other ways? What are things that I can do today or tomorrow to have those feelings in my life? Because the problem is that when we give the exclusivity to some feelings to a certain point in time, we miss out on all the other opportunities to create those feelings on a daily basis.
Right. Maybe the equivalent of the person who's trying to get, I hate this word, like bikini ready. And it's like, okay, well, I can't go to a beach, go on a vacation, have fun outside until I get to that's wild, right? Like I can't be outside until I have this body, right? Like, a bit of an extreme example, but that kind of, delayed gratification is great when you think about working hard on something, but if you're delaying your life and your right to have a certain feeling, the reality is we know we're always moving the needle, we're always moving the marker, so you probably will continue to move that out and actually just deny yourself.
Exactly. And that's where it comes. Yeah. And that's where it comes back to enjoying the process and the journey of creation. If you don't, then you're probably after the wrong thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Francois, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you, find more about you, find resources that you're sharing?
Yeah, thank you. People can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to have new connection. You can find me on the internet. My website is françoisdeneuville.com. And I just released a book like 2 months ago, and you can find it on Instagram, on Amazon, sorry. The title is The Illusion of Time, 11 Lessons on How Not to Suck at Life. And this is really a book about how to stop postponing your best life for later. So that's really relevant, I think,
I
now.
love that. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, so relevant. 11 lessons how not to suck at life and not to postpone your best life.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so
Again,
much.
it was such a fantastic conversation. I look forward to catching up again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Our goal is to create connections and inspire conversations. So please subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast with your network if you enjoyed today's episode. Sharing is caring. If you're ready to take your business to the next level and are curious how I can help, click the link in the episode notes to schedule a call. Got questions or topics you want us to discuss? Click the link in the episode notes to share them with us. Your question might even get featured in an upcoming episode. And remember, this podcast is not intended to replace legal, tax, or other kinds of professional advice. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. We'll catch you on the flip side.